Greenland is a large island in the North Atlantic Ocean. It is very cold and has ice and snow everywhere. Long ago, people came to live there. These people came from Alaska and Canada about 4,500 years ago. They were hunters and fishermen. They hunted seals and whales. They fished in the ocean. These people knew how to live in very cold places. They built small houses from stone and animal bones. They wore clothes made from animal fur and skin. These clothes kept them warm in the freezing weather. The first people lived in small groups. Each group had about 20 or 30 people. They moved from place to find food. They did not stay in one home for a long time. Life was hard and dangerous. Winter was very long and dark. The ocean was cold and had ice. But these brave people survived. They learned how to hunt on the ice. They learned how to fish in cold water. They created tools from bone and stone. They made weapons to hunt animals. These first people were strong and smart. They lived in Greenland for many years. They had children and families. Their children learned the same skills. The people taught their children how to survive. They told stories about hunting and fishing. They shared knowledge about the weather and the seasons. This is how the first people of Greenland lived. They were the beginning of Greenland's history. About 1,000 years ago, the Vikings came to Greenland. The Vikings were people from Scandinavia, which is in northern Europe. They were sailors and explorers. They traveled on big ships across the ocean. A Viking man named Eric the Red discovered Greenland. Eric was a strong man with red hair and a beard. He came to Greenland because he wanted to escape from Iceland. In Iceland, he had trouble with other people. He needed a new place to live. When Eric the Red saw Greenland, he was happy. He saw Greenland in summer, though most of the island was ice. He decided to stay and build a settlement. He called this new place Greenland because the name sounds nice. Many other Vikings heard about Greenland. They wanted to go there too. More Vikings sailed across the ocean. They built farms and houses. The Vikings were farmers and hunters. They raised sheep and cows. They also hunted seals and whales. The Vikings built villages with stone houses. The houses had thick walls to keep out the cold wind. Inside the houses, they had fire to stay warm. The Vikings brought new technology to Greenland. They brought iron tools and better weapons. They brought knowledge about farming. The Vikings lived in Greenland for about 500 years. They created a strong community. But eventually, the weather became much colder. The ocean froze more. Ships could not come and go easily. The Viking settlements began to die. This is the story of the Vikings in Greenland. The Vikings who lived in Greenland had a different life than Vikings in Europe. Life in Greenland was very hard. The weather was cold and harsh. There was ice and snow most of the year. The summer was very short. Vikings in Greenland spent most of their time finding food. The men hunted seals, whales, and fish. This was their main work. The women made clothes from animal skin and fur. They also cooked food and took care of the home. Children helped their parents. They learned to hunt and fish when they were young. The Vikings in Greenland lived in small communities. One settlement had about 1,000 people. Another settlement had about 2,000 people. These communities were far from Europe. They felt very alone and isolated. Trade was important to the Vikings in Greenland. Ships came from Europe to buy things. The ships brought iron, wood, and cloth. The Vikings sold walrus teeth and seal skin. They also sold a special animal called a narwhal. The narwhal has a long horn. People in Europe thought this horn had magic power. The Vikings had strong beliefs. They believed in Norse gods and Christian God. When Christianity came to Greenland, many Vikings changed their religion. They built churches from stone. The Vikings in Greenland were tough people. They survived in one of the hardest places on earth. They had their own culture. They spoke Norse language. They told stories and sang songs. They celebrated holidays and festivals. The Viking culture in Greenland was unique and special. After the year 1300, something bad happened. The weather in Greenland became much colder. Scientists call this time the Little Ice Age. It lasted for about 500 years. The temperature dropped slowly. Ice grew thicker and thicker. The ocean froze more. Ships could not sail to Greenland as often. Trade became difficult. Food was hard to find. The Vikings in Greenland had serious problems. The summer was very short. Crops could not grow. The Vikings could not feed their animals. Many sheep and cows died from cold and hunger. The Vikings tried to survive, but it was very difficult. They hunted more seals and whales, but there were fewer animals to hunt. People got sick. Children died. Life became harder and harder. The Vikings sent letters to Europe. They asked for help, but Europe had its own problems. Nobody could help Greenland. The Viking settlements became smaller. People left Greenland and sailed back to Europe. Some people died. Some people stayed and tried to survive. By the year 1500, the Viking settlements were gone. Nobody knows exactly what happened to the last Vikings. Maybe they starved. Maybe they sailed away in ships. Maybe they died from disease. The land was too cold and too difficult. The Vikings could not fight against nature. The Little Ice Age was too strong. This is one of history's great mysteries. The Vikings disappeared from Greenland. The island was almost empty. Only the Inuit people lived there. They had always known how to live in extreme cold. After the Vikings left, nobody lived in Greenland for a long time. The island was empty. Then, in the 1600s and 1700s, Denmark became interested in Greenland again. Denmark is a country in northern Europe. The Danish king wanted to control Greenland. Denmark sent ships to explore the island. They found some Inuit people living there. The Inuit had always been in Greenland. They survived the Little Ice Age because they knew how to live in extreme cold. Denmark decided to make Greenland part of Denmark. they called a colony. A colony is a place that belongs to another country. The Danes brought missionaries to Greenland. These were religious people. They wanted to teach Christianity to the Inuit. The Inuit slowly adopted Christian religion. The Danish also brought traders. The traders wanted to buy seal skin and whale oil. These things were valuable in Europe. The Inuit hunted seals and whales. The Danes bought these products and sold them to Europe. This trade helped both people. The Inuit got useful things like metal tools and cloth. The Danes made money from the trade. Denmark built settlements in Greenland. They built small towns with houses, churches, and shops. The most important town was called Nuuk. This is still the capital of Greenland today. Life was still very hard in Greenland. It was cold and isolated, but slowly Greenland developed. Schools were built. More churches were built. The population grew. Danish language became important. Many people learned to speak Danish. Greenland was now part of Denmark's territory. This situation lasted for many years. In the 1800s, Greenland changed slowly. Denmark continued to rule the island. The population grew a little bit. More people moved to Greenland. Many people came from Denmark and other countries. Trade continued to be important. Sealing and fishing were the main jobs. Men hunted seals and fished for fish. This work was dangerous. Many men died at sea. Women worked at home. They made clothes and took care of children. Schools became more common. Children learned to read and write. They learned Danish language and Christian religion. The church was very important in Greenland. Church services happened every week. The church taught people about life and morality. Doctors and nurses came to Greenland. They helped sick people. Before this, many people died from disease. Medical help made life longer and safer. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, more technology came to Greenland. Ships were better. They could travel faster and more safely. Railways were built in some places. Factories were built to process fish and seal. These factories gave jobs to people. Telegraph lines were built. People could send messages over long distances. This made communication easier. Mining started in Greenland. They mined coal and other minerals. Coal was needed for heat and electricity. The economy of Greenland grew. There was more money. Life became a little easier. But Greenland was still very poor compared to Denmark. People had few choices. The weather was still cold and difficult. Life was still hard work. Most people worked in hunting, fishing, or mining. Greenland was slowly becoming more modern, but it was a very slow process. World War II was a big war that happened from 1939 to 1945. Many countries fought in this war. Germany, Japan, and Italy were on one side. The United States, England, and the Soviet Union were on the other side. Greenland was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. This location made it very important for the war. Both sides wanted to control Greenland. Germany wanted to use Greenland as a military base. The United States also wanted to protect Greenland. During the war, Denmark was occupied by Germany. Germany had soldiers in Denmark. Denmark could not help Greenland, so Greenland looked to the United States for protection. The United States sent soldiers to Greenland. They built military bases there. They built airports and radar stations. Radar is a special machine that can see far away. It helps find enemy ships and planes. The United States protected Greenland from German attacks. Greenland was very important for the war. Ships and planes needed to travel across the Atlantic Ocean. Greenland was in the middle of this route. Military bases in Greenland helped protect ships and planes. Greenland also had weather stations. Weather information was important for the military. Greenland's weather affects Europe's weather. Weather stations in Greenland helped predict storms. After World War II ended in 1945, the United States stayed in Greenland. They kept their military bases. The bases protected this part of the world. Greenland was no longer just a place for hunting and fishing. It was now a strategic military location. The American military helped develop Greenland. They brought money and technology. This changed Greenland forever. War and military power shaped Greenland's future. After World War II, things changed in Greenland. The war brought American soldiers and money. This brought new technology and modern ideas. Greenland started to develop faster. In 1953, Greenland became officially part of Denmark. It was not just a colony anymore. It was a county of Denmark. This was a small step toward independence. The Danish government gave Greenland more power. Greenland could make some of its own decisions. A parliament was created. The parliament was a group of leaders who made laws. They talked about what was best for Greenland. In 1979, Greenland got even more power. Denmark gave Greenland more control over its government. This was called home rule. The word home rule means that people can rule themselves. Greenland could now make many decisions without Denmark. They controlled schools, hospitals, and local government. But Denmark still controlled foreign affairs and defense. Foreign affairs means relationships with other countries. Defense means the military and protection from attack. Danish people still lived in Greenland. Danish language was still important. Many people spoke both Danish and Greenlandic. Greenlandic language became more popular. Young people were proud of their Greenlandic identity. They wanted independence from Denmark. The economy of Greenland grew. Fishing became a big industry. Greenland had rich fishing waters. Many fish lived in the ocean around Greenland. Fish exports brought money to Greenland. Tourism also started to grow. People from other countries came to see Greenland. They wanted to see the ice and beautiful nature. More jobs were created. Life became better and wealthier for many people. Greenland was slowly moving toward full independence. In 1985, Greenland made a big decision. They voted to leave the European Economic Community. The European Economic Community was a group of countries that traded together. Denmark was part of this group, but Greenland's leaders said the fishing rules were bad for Greenland. The rules limited how many fish Greenland could catch. Greenland left the community. This showed that Greenland wanted to be independent. The independence movement grew stronger. People in Greenland wanted full independence from Denmark. They wanted to be their own country. But independence was complicated. Greenland depends on Denmark for some things. Denmark gives money to help Greenland. This money helps pay for hospitals and schools. Without this money, Greenland would have serious problems. Greenland's economy was not strong enough yet. Fishing was the main business, but fishing prices could change. One day, fishing might be very valuable. Another day, the price could drop. Greenland needed a stronger, more diverse economy. In 2009, Greenland got self-government. This was a big step. Greenland could now make almost all of its own decisions. Only defense and foreign affairs were still controlled by Denmark. The flag of Greenland flew proudly. The National Day of Greenland became a big celebration. People were proud to be Greenlandic. The Greenlandic language became more important. Schools taught Greenlandic culture and history. Young people learned about their traditions. Mining became important to the economy. Greenland has valuable minerals under the ground. Mining could bring lots of money. But mining also brings danger. Miners can get hurt. Mining damages nature. The environment is very important in Greenland. The ice and nature are precious. Greenland had to balance development with environmental protection. Today, Greenland is a very special place. It is still part of the Danish kingdom, but it has its own government. Greenland is almost independent. Many people want full independence, but full independence requires careful planning. Greenland is a small country with only about 56,000 people. This is very small. Iceland has 370,000 people. Denmark has 5.8 million people. Being small makes independence difficult. Greenland needs money and resources to be a country. Fishing is still the main industry. Greenland exports fish all over the world. Fishing gives jobs to thousands of people. Arctic shrimp is very valuable. Fishing brings millions of dollars to Greenland. But climate change is affecting fishing. The ocean temperature is rising. Fish are moving to different places. Greenlandic fishermen have to adapt. They are learning about new kinds of fish. Mining is growing in importance. Greenland has rare earth minerals. These minerals are valuable for technology. The world needs these minerals. Mining can make Greenland very rich. But mining can damage the environment. The ice is melting because of climate change. This changes Greenland's landscape. New areas are becoming free of ice. Some people see opportunity. New farms might be possible. New industries might develop. But the melting ice also causes problems. It affects wildlife. It affects the ocean. It changes the climate everywhere on Earth. Tourism is growing quickly. People want to see Greenland's beauty. They see the ice and mountains. They see the northern lights. Tourism brings money and jobs. Young Greenlandic people are moving to Denmark or other countries. This is called emigration. They look for better jobs and education. Greenland's population is slowly getting smaller. The culture and language are changing. Greenland's future is uncertain but hopeful. The people are strong and determined. They are building their own nation.